Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my Pentiment playthrough. Today, continuing with Pentiment. Can here talk with Clara? Clara, Magdalene dear. Magdalene, hello Clara. Thank you again for helping me look after the house. I can't tell you how much more time this gives me to work on the mural. Clara, oh, it's no trouble. You have your hands full as it is. Magdalene, I know Dad really enjoys the company while I'm working, too. Clara, ah, yes. He sleeps most of the day, but he's been in good spirits whenever I drop in on him. You two keep a clean house, too. Well, aside from the workshop, but I can't blame you for that. I've left that to you to take care of. I don't want to damage any of your supplies. Magdalene, thank you, Clara, truly. You've been such a blessing to us both. Clara, oh, you're such a dear, Magdalene. God bless you. Let's see here. I'll clean it up later. The mural is more important. So it looks like we need to head to the mural. But I did believe we had some opportunity to talk with some other people around town. So why don't we actually explore a little bit? And we'll explore with Father Thomas and everybody later. Let's talk with Brigitta. Hello, Magdalene. Martin. Magdalene. Chitta. Hello, hey, Magdalene. Eddie. Hello, Magda. Simon. Okay. Hans, here we go. Hans. Hello, Magdalene. Magdalene. Hello, Hans. Hans. I hope your dad recovers quickly. He's a good man. Magdalene. Oh, we've already had this conversation. Never mind. Okay, no worries. You've already had that conversation, so. Little Peter. York. Veronica. Yeah, actually, let's head up. Let's talk with Otts, and otherwise, I think we need to talk with Baltazar. At least I think so. Andrus, Matilda, Vojislav, Fabian. I don't think we talk anything with them. Ursula. Ursula, God bless you, Magdalene. Need something? Magdalene, maybe. I'm looking into the history of Tassing. I think some families have remembered more than others. Can you recall anything? Ursula, no. I don't think those stories would be much use to you anyway. It's all folk tales and pagan nonsense. No place for those things in a good Christian household. Magdalene, oh, all right. We could say, is that really what you think, or leave it alone? We'll leave it alone. Well, thanks anyway. I'll see you later, Ursula. Until then, I don't want any pagan stuff, so that's what I'll go with for now. Artemis, go away, Megan. Because again, this is a town has become Christianized, so we want to show the Christian aspects of the town. Talk with Black Till? No, he doesn't say anything. Eva? Christina? She says something. Magda? Magdalene, hello, Christina. Christina, did you see the froggies on Sunday? Magdalene. We could say, I did. They were everywhere, weren't they? Or, I think everyone saw the frogs, Christina. They were all over the church. We'll go with the first. Christina, I've never seen so many together before. Father Thomas was so angry, but I think it's funny. Mommy says the twins did it, and they're an example of children who don't follow the 10 Commandments. Magdalene. We could say, your mom is right. Artemis and Apollo are always getting in trouble. They don't honor their parents, or, well, everyone makes mistakes. That's why we confess our sins and do penance. Or, the Ten Commandments don't say anything about frogs, though, do they? And we'll select the first. Christina. Father Thomas yelled at them. Mistress Naren did too. Are they going to get in trouble with God? Magdalene. We could say, if they confess, then no. God will forgive them and they won't be in trouble. Or, the only ones they'll get in trouble with is their parents and Father Thomas. I don't think God cares about sneaking frogs into church. We'll pick the first. Christina. Oh, good. I like them, even if the adults have to scold them. Mom scolds me sometimes, too, when I do something bad. That's why I try to listen to her and behave and say my prayers. Magdalene. You're a smart girl, Christina. Christina. Thanks, Magda. Mommy says so, too. We'll talk with Otts outside. He just says, hey, Mags, so it is what it is in that sense. I believe we were supposed to talk to Elsa as well, so let's keep a lookout for her. And let's see if Father Thomas is there. He may be here for a conversation. He is. Here it is. Thomas. God bless you, Magdalene. Magdalene. And God bless you, Father Thomas. Do you have a moment? Thomas. Of course. What can I help you with? Magdalene. I wanted to ask you about Tassing Saints. I'd like to represent them in the Rathas. Thomas. I'm thrilled to hear it. The saints will make a wonderful centerpiece for the murals. Magdalene. You misunderstand, Father. I may incorporate them, but there are other possibilities. Or, no, not as a centerpiece, simply as part of Tassing's history. Or, let's make a deal. I listen rapturously as you tell me about the saints, and you don't press me about putting them in the mural. Thomas. Very well. But you know there is one saint you're overlooking. Magdalene. We could say Mary, or contemplate this. Let's say Mary. Thomas. Yes. Well done, Magdalene. Many people forget that Mary is the greatest saint, and she visited one of the peasants here in Tassing centuries ago. We could say, what, really? Or, the Virgin Mary appeared in Tassing? Why? Or what we will say, which is, oh, is that where the painting came from? An apparition? Thomas. Yes, exactly. Magdalene. I read about something similar happening in the mountains near Genoa, Mary appearing to a peasant. Thomas. I believe it. The Blessed Virgin has appeared to many people all over Christendom. Centuries ago, a farmer in the fields behind us had 3 visions of Mary. In the first, she told him that she wanted him to tell the bishop of Freising that she had appeared. The peasant traveled down to Freising, but the bishop would not see or hear him. Magdalene. Keep listening, or, that's not a short trip. Thomas. It certainly is not, but the peasant had received a holy vision. What else could one do in the face of a divine revelation? Magdalene. Shrug, or, well, when you put it that way. Thomas. The peasant returned to Tassing and had another vision in the field. The Virgin showed him a pattern, a labyrinth. She told him to draw it on a sheet of birch bark and bring the drawing to the Bishop of Freising. Magdalene. We can keep listening, or, why didn't you just give him the labyrinth the first time? Thomas. The bishop attempted to turn the peasant away, but he could see the drawing of the labyrinth in his hands. It was the same image that the bishop had seen in a dream 3 nights earlier. He met with the peasant, who told him of the 2 apparitors he had seen here in Tassing. The bishop was moved by the peasant's story, and he came here to Tassing. Magdalene. We could either say keep listening, or the bishop came here. Thomas. He did. It's the only time the bishop has ever come to Tassing. And when the bishop came, Mary appeared to both of them. She told the farmer that the town needed to build this church. She told the bishop to support the town. Magdalene. We could keep listening, or I had no idea that's where all of this came from, or what we will say, which is, was the town so poor that they couldn't have built it on their own? Thomas. Oh, I don't know. But certainly the support of the bishop must have made it much easier. And so the bishop helped fund the creation of this church. The people of Tassing have been using it ever since. Magdalene. You're not from Tassing. How did you hear the story? Or, when was the painting made? Or, I think if I include the saints in the mural, I'll place Our Lady among them. Without a doubt. I am going to say the third one. I am absolutely, as Lord Naren White, the Spirit of God, the one true God, going to, have the Virgin Mary receive her shine. Thomas. I think that is a most excellent idea, Magdalene. It will help reinforce Our Lady's presence in the minds of the faithful. A worthy addition to the story and the devotion of our people. We could either say, thank you, Magdalene now, thank you for the story, Father Thomas, or, do you really think that story is true, Father Thomas? Thomas, well, of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Magdalene, there's a Till Eulenspiegel story. Till Eulenspiegel, the titular character of a popular 15th century book. Till is a prankster, continually exposing the vices and hypocrisy of others. He is also quite skilled at tricking people into smelling, touching, or eating his excrement. Thomas, oh, this one again. Magdalene. Thomas, continue. Magdalene, he went around with a head that he said belonged to a saint, preaching as though he were a priest. And everyone prayed and donated it to him, as though it were real, never knowing the truth. Thomas. Magdalene, is the story of Till Eulenspiegel true? Magdalene, no, of course not. It's just a funny story. Thomas, but you see truth in it, yes? Magdalene, that's different, or I suppose. Thomas, something to think about. Magdalene, thank you for the story, Father Thomas. Thomas, you are most welcome, Magdalene. God bless you and your work, Magdalene. Magdalene, God bless you, Father Thomas. That's tremendous, that we're getting an opportunity now to paint Mary, which is exactly what I would choose. So now we're going to go to the mill and talk with Elsa. I remember we were supposed to talk with Elsa next. Elsa, Magdalene dear, what brings you up the hill? Magdalene, we could say, I wanted to ask you some questions about your family, for the mural, or Dad was telling me your family's been in Tassing for hundreds of years, or Dad suggested I ask your family for the mural. He said your sister used to tell him about your family story. Your family name was Caviezel, wasn't it? Elsa, oh. Not a soul in town has asked me about my family in years. I was beginning to think my neighbors had forgotten us. I am not surprised your father remembers the Caviezels. He was sweet on my sister before he met your mother. I am the last of us left now. Magdalene, what happened to your family, or is that a local name? Elsa, I should think so. My grandfather told me the Caviezels have lived in Tassing for hundreds of years, perhaps even 1,000, though it seems impossible to imagine a time so long ago. We could say, were they Romans, or the Caviezels were pagans? Elsa, yes, the original Bavarian people here, even before the Romans. My grandfather said his grandfather told him the Caviezels resettled the town after the Romans left, built their new home right on the spot where they had been living when the Romans arrived. We could say, interesting. Doesn't that seem unlikely to you, or what a blessing Saint Moritz brought your family to God? Elsa, it is because of Saint Moritz that I will see my family again in heaven. When I think of the ancient Caviezels driven from their land, only to find it again and become Christians, they feel nearer to me. Do you understand? Magdalene, we could say, I don't know. It's a strange way of thinking to me, or I think so. It's like when my dad tells me stories about courting my mom. I don't remember her face, but when he tells me about her smile, I can almost recall it. Elsa, yes, it doesn't matter whether you really remember. When I sing my sister's favorite songs to Ulrich, I may not know all the words anymore, but that's all right. Just as I may not know exactly how the Cavizels resettled Tassing. What matters is that I feel close to her and them, even though they are so far from me now. That is what stories are for, Magda. Now go on. You've got a mural to complete. We could say, "Thank you, Elsa. You've given me much to consider." Or "Until later, Elsa." Or "God bless you, Elsa." Elsa, God bless you, Magdalene dear. Anna, God bless you, Magdalene. Magdalene, hello, Anna. How are you? Anna, oh, keeping busy. There's always plenty to do around the house. How is the mural coming along? Paul mentioned your progress is quite impressive. Magdalene, I'll say, "Oh, I'll have to thank him. That's high praise from a councilman." Or, "I'm making steady progress. I think I'll be finished just before the new year." Or, "I didn't realize the council cared so much, especially when I wasn't their first choice." We'll go with the first one. Anna, haha, truth be told, he enjoys following your progress. I'll have to bring Andreas and Ulrich by sometime to see your progress. We won't get in your way, of course. I'm sure they'd love to learn about the process. Magdalene, you're all more than welcome, but watch your step. There's plaster everywhere. I've just mixed a new batch to keep the wall moist. It's hard to maintain the right texture when it's so cold out. Anna, oh, I can imagine. I had a similar problem when I helped my mother in the bakery. Rolling dough in winter was such trouble. We had to throw out so many batches that wouldn't rise. Your discipline is admirable, Magdalene. You know, I was a real rascal back in the day. Skipped on working with my parents more times than I can count. Magdalene, we could say, "But you're so hard working, Anna. I can't imagine you making trouble." Or, "So it wasn't Big Jorg who was the troublemaker?" Or, "You sound like a regular St. Augustine." Anna, there may be more to that than you think, Magda. I was a thief and scoundrel. It started with cakes from my mother's table, still hot from the oven. Soon it was silverware, mugs, trinkets I found around town. Of course, stealing is against the Lord's commandments, so my father would make me return everything if I hadn't eaten it already, and march me to church to pray. Father Thomas grew accustomed to seeing me more often than Sunday mornings. Magdalene, I guess you got tired of saying Ave Marias? Or what changed? Anna, I grew out of the habit over time. I think I started to see why my parents had such a devotion to the Lord. Stealing was my way of acting out. But when the troubles started in town, I realized that my thieving wasn't doing any good. Not to mention I saw what happened to Martin Bauer. I decided I'd rather honor my father and mother as God commands. It gives me grace with Andreas and Ulrich on the hard days, and with the rest of the town too. Magdalene, we could say, "That's more charitable than some people in Tassing deserve." Or, "I think everyone can learn from your example, Anna." Or, "I think Ulrich would be proud." Anna, thank you, Magdalene. That means more than you know. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I'm sure you have plenty of mural work to do. Magdalene, I'll see you later, Anna. Anna, God bless you, Magdalene. Yeah, Carl. Carl. But it's still so beautiful here, Martha. One more moment. Martha, all right, take your time. Oh, hello, Magdalene. Dad, look who it is. Carl, good morning, Mr. Struckern. Magdalene, hello, Martha. Carl, how are you today? Martha, on our usual walk around town. November hasn't grown too cold yet. Dr. Stoll says Dad needs to keep using the leg, or the pain will get worse. Carl, and I'm getting old, heh. Martha, not so old you can sit around at home telling stories, eh? Magdalene, you listen to your daughter Carl, or you're about the same age as my dad, aren't you? Or hasn't he earned a rest? We'll go with the first one. Carl, you young girls think you're my keeper, is that it? Martha, I've always been your keeper, Dad. Carl, no arguments from me there. Magdalene, you're in a good mood today, I see, or sounds like you have Martha to thank for your health. Carl, given that the alternative is Werner, I'm glad to have something. Can't even find his ass with both hands. Martha, Dad. Carl, what? Anton would have made a better doctor than him. Martha, Carl, Anton, my poor boy. Martha, it's all right, Dad. Magdalene, you still miss your son, or I'm sorry, Carl. Carl, it's not your fault, Magdalene. Just a babe, then. I can't. It's my fault that he died. Martha, it's not, Dad. You know it's not. Carl, he shouldn't have been with me that night. He shouldn't have. I was a fool. Magdalene, let him continue, or what happened? I was there, but all I remember is the flames. Carl, what a fire it was. The whole abbey engulfed. I was bleeding. Anton tried to drag me out of the fight. Then, that god-forsaken Lensch stepped between us. I hope he burns in hell. Lenschnet, mercenaries found throughout the Holy Roman Empire in service of the imperial army. They are known for their colorful and flamboyant fashion, their ferocity, and their short lifespans. Magdalene, I can't even imagine what that was like. We could say, I still think of my mother every day. Nothing can make up for a loss like that. Or, how old were you during the revolt, Martha? Martha, 7 or so. I didn't understand what was happening. Someone brought Dad home in the middle of the night. It was dark, confusing. They were screaming outside. Mom and a couple of the men who brought Dad in were trying to patch up the wound. It wouldn't stop bleeding. She kept shouting, "Where's Anton? Where's Anton?" There was blood on the floor. Carl, you cried so much you threw up. We couldn't get you to stop. Martha, I couldn't understand where Anton had gone. Dad tried to explain, but... Carl, Martha, my dear, enough of that. Magdalene, my God, or I'm so sorry. How did you go on? Carl, did I? I don't know. Some nights I think I am there still. The abbey is always burning. My Helena passed not long after. I was left alone with Martha to care for. Wait for him to continue. Or may the Lord bless and keep her. Carl, as he keeps your mother, Magdalene. I had to keep going for Martha, and somehow my daughter grew into a wonderful woman despite it all. I suppose that was all Helena's doing. Martha, Dad, if I'm any good, it's because of you. Magdalene, I'm sorry I asked you to relive that all again, or thank you for telling me about the night, Carl. Martha. Carl, time doesn't heal, Magdalene, but it does dull the ache. Martha, it's time we continued with the walk, Dad. Carl, yes, dear. I'm feeling much more alive now. Magdalene, be well, you two. Let's see if there's someone to talk to at Drucker's Inn here. I'm not sure, Golden Hand, excuse me. I'm not sure if there is or isn't. Let's see. Killian, yes. Killian, hi, Mags. Sorry, I can't talk for long right now. could say, "Hi, Killian, what's keeping you so busy?" Or, "Magdalene." Killian, "Oh, of course, Magdalene. I didn't mean to be impolite." Magdalene. We could say, "Ah, it's all right. What's keeping you so busy?" Or, "You've more courtesy than Otz and Apollo put together." We'll say the first one. Killian. It's almost December. We have to start preparing for the festivities. It's not easy with Mom and Dad shouting at each other a lot. Nothing really gets done until I do it. Magdalene. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Or, your parents don't get along? Killian. They've been gnawing at one another ever since I was a kid. Dad spends a lot more time away from the inn, if it's not a very busy time. And when he's around, they can get into arguments over any little thing. Magdalene. Why? Or, people say your mom did many bad things years ago. We'll say why. Killian. Bad blood. Everyone does bad things sometimes, you know. When the monks were around, they told us about God is forgiveness. Wojslaw talks about it a lot too. So that's what I tried to do. Forgive. Magdalene. You've got a kind heart, Killian. Or, what if the bad things someone does are serious? Or, Martin Luther wrote that Christ gave himself into death for our sins. Your mom's sins were serious, but the Lord has already forgiven her. Maybe everyone else should too. Sniff. I think so too. Thanks, Magdalene. Magdalene, you've got a kind heart, Killian. Killian, maybe. How's your mural coming along anyway? Magdalene, one step at a time. Learning about the history of Tassing is a challenge. Killian, at least you can read well enough to learn more of the history. I'm still struggling a bit. Magdalene, just keep learning, Killian. Killian, I will. Oh, I'm sorry, Magdalene. I really have to get back to work. Magdalene, be well. Hannah, good morning, Magdalene. Kazimierz. Can't talk. Magdalene, I see your, I'm sorry. Don't be, it's fine. I'm Kazimierz, musician with Alexander. Magdalene, I'm Magdalene Druckern. I live here in town. You could say, do you mind if I ask what happened to your voice? Or, I take it you're not the singer? Kazimierz, no. Sean and Lute. Magdalene, you could say, what are you two doing in Tassing? Or, alright, I won't take up any more of your time. Ask Alexander, sorry. Magdalene, alright, I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks, God bless you. And that is where we'll go ahead and end the video there for this week. And so, with that, I want to go ahead and say thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this Pentiment series thus far. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing, the conversations around the town, as well as Magdalene's work in terms of the murals. And so, with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.